Welcome to VLearn. Hello students, welcome to the lecture of System Analysis and Designing. After this lecture, we will be able to understand different concepts of implementation and security of the system. Apart from this, we will also cover MIS, that is Management Information System. Implementation of the system is the basic topic that we are about to cover in today's lecture. Next is system testing, conversion approaches, types of maintenance, audit, computer system and security issues. These are the topics that we are about to cover in today's session. Let's talk about the implementation of the system. As you know it very well that SDLC has 7 phases, that is analysis, requirement analysis rather, then analysis in terms of feasibility, of cost, quality and time, then comes designing, then coding, testing, implementation and maintenance. So implementation of the system is the second most phase in the entire system development life cycle. And this unit will give you then overview of the actual implementation techniques. When the new system is completely designed, where maintenance of the system after implementation is a major activity, considering the total life of a product. So basically, maintenance is such an activity which helps to improve the life cycle of a particular software or system, because it consists of total life of the software product. To ensure this, we need to perform the system testing, and by conducting this system test, we can ensure the better life cycle of any system or software. So the first thing which comes under the system testing is recovery testing, security testing, stress testing, performance testing and response testing. Let's explore recovery testing. Recovery testing is such a kind of testing which ensures either the proposed system or the installed system is capable to recover the data, because if you have built a fully fledged system but there is no recovery mechanisms, right? Or if there is some sort of recovery mechanism but it doesn't ensure the 100% full recovery of the software. So in that particular situation, what we need to do, we have to ensure by means of recovery testing either the available software or system is capable enough to recover the software or to recover the data, right? Next sort of testing which is applied onto the system is security testing, because system involves lots of IT components and many other physical components also. So in this respect, security testing ensures the testing in terms of authentication, authorization, encryption, decryption, firewall. These are the certain ways by which we can ensure the security of the system, on which we are doing lots of other things. Next type of testing that ensures the system testing is stress testing. It means now system is checked in terms of number of users it can support, or the number of functionalities a system can perform under the peak processing hours. This type of testing ensures the workload of the system. Similarly, performance testing. Next type of testing that we apply on a system is performance testing. Performance testing ensures the performance of a system in terms of available parameters. It ensures the efficiency and productivity of the system also. Right? So response testing. Next come response testing. That is, a system basically works on the principles of IPO. That is, to perform any sort of operation through a system, you need to input some data into the system, and that input data will undergo processing, and then finally output will be generated out of this particular system. Like if you want to talk to someone, you need to dial the number of that particular person first, and that dialing of number is called as an input. Again, your dial number will reach to the exchange of that particular telephone. Suppose you are making a call by MTNL. So after dialing the number, your ring will reach to the local area or local MTNL office. And then if you are able to talk with that person, then whatever discussion you are doing, it reflects the output of that particular operation or that particular response. So in this context, when we talk about the response testing means the amount of time between the input and output generation. So response testing ensures that response time should be minimum. So response time minimum ensures better system performance, or we can say that if the response time of a particular system is less, it ensures that system is well organized and its turnaround time is minimum. So all this testing, either it is recovery, security testing, stress testing, performance testing and response testing, they all sort of test basically ensures the testing of the entire system, which collectively enhance the performance of any sort of system. Next approaches is conversion approaches. During system analysis and designing, or we can say before the actually entering into the system development life cycle, it is thought that either we have to prepare a new system or we have to make some sort of amendment in the old system, or we have to totally replace the older system from the new one. Right? So here we require some sort of conversion approaches in which it is decided either this conversion should be done in a direct way, in a phased way, in a parallel way, like this. So direct conversion, there are different conversion approaches also, which helps to convert an old system to the new system. The first one is direct conversion. In this direct conversion, all the previous things related with that of the old system, they are being replaced by the new one. There is nothing that can be derived from the older system. So that is called as a direct conversion. Pilot conversion. Next sort of approach is pilot conversion. Pilot conversion is an approach in which before applying the conversion to the entire system, we choose a particular area of an entire system and apply all the changes or conversion process on that particular selected part of the system. We want to just ensure if this part of the system is doing well in a successful way even after conversion, then these changes can be applied to all other component of the system also. So one component is chosen as a pilot project of the conversion process. Next is parallel conversion. Parallel conversion ensures concurrent conversion basically, in which at one side there is a new system, at one side there is an old system, and one by one parallelly all the things are being replaced or carry forward in a parallel way. Right? Next one is phase conversion. Phase conversion ensures the conversion process to be carried out in a stepwise way, in a progressive way. At every phase you find that some sort of conversion has been done, right? So conversion approaches helps to convert into a new system, right? Here we are talking about different types of maintenance. Again, maintenance is the second last activity of the entire SDLC, and maintenance is of 4 types basically: corrective maintenance, adaptive maintenance, perfective maintenance, and preventive maintenance. Corrective maintenance. Corrective maintenance basically ensures the accuracy with respect to the software, system, and customer requirement. All these 3 parameters are verified during the corrective maintenance phase of the system development life cycle. Corrective means in terms of customer requirement, in terms of software developer, in terms of system analyst, and all other people who are directly involved or indirectly involved in the work. Because maintenance is an ongoing activity. Next is adaptive maintenance. Sometimes we prepare the system in such a way so that with the changes of time, environment, and many more things, our system get adapt to the changing situation and it can respond very well. So that sort of things which is introduced into the system so that our system adapt to the changes as per the need of the system, this sort of things or maintenance activities comes under the adaptive maintenance. Right? Next is perfective maintenance. Perfective maintenance ensures the 100% utilization of the different components of system, and it also focuses onto the future aspect of the all components so that the things can be materialized in a productive way in the near future. Next is preventive maintenance. Preventive maintenance involves all those activities which are actually responsible for creating trouble into the system, or those activities which hampers the performance of the system, that can be prevented in advance by taking some corrective measures. We can ensure the life cycle of a particular system by adopting preventive maintenance, so that the future problem which are supposed to be crop up in the near future, that can be controlled and even prevented by applying preventive maintenance into the system. Right? Suppose I have developed a software and there's antivirus software is also the part of that software. So any antivirus software is added to your system or added to your other associated software just to ensure so that they should not, your system or software should not be affected by the virus in the near future. So all the homework you are supposed to do so that future problems cannot crop up in the near future. All these things comes under the preventive maintenance. Right? Any questions so far? Our next major activity that we are about to cover is audit. Yes. Audit is a very structured term. It's a very technical term in context of the system analysis and designing. Now let's understand what exactly is the meaning of audit. Audit is an example, or we can say it's an assessment of an information system. And this assessment is being carried out by the information system professionals of information system auditor, so that they can recommend and advise to improve the system performance and even security also. So we can say that audit is such an activity which is done to ensure the improved system performance and security of the system. And the person who actually are involved in the entire work of improving system performance and security, or who checks basically the things at the verified level, are called as an auditor. It means the person who actually performs the auditing or audit is called auditors. So audit should be done regularly and the results should be used to refine the system. Audit should not be such an activity so that it should be done even after years or after a long time. It should be done regularly. And apart from this, the major advantage of conducting audit is that the result of the audit should be used to refine the system, to improve the system. So in nutshell, we can say that audit is such an activity which is being performed by the auditor, which helps to improve the overall performance of the system along with security. They refines the system basically and measure the performance of the organization or the system with respect to some standards. Every organization has their own built-in standards, and auditors are the people who checks whosoever is not following the standards of the organization, which is being defined by the organization for the people of the organization to the people of the organization. So checking with respect to the standard of the organization, this process is basically called as an audit, and it ensures the accuracy of the work of the system. Ultimate goal of auditing is to improve the performance of the system. Now let's explore a little bit more about the objective of the audit. That what exactly is the objective of the audit? To improve the quality of the information system, to prevent the failure of the system, minimize the effects of failure, and even to speed up the process of recovery in the event of a failure. This will help the information system to be more reliable. Right? To make an information system more secure from naturals as well as man-made disaster, unauthorized access and other destructive action can be controlled. So, if you don't want that your system should be affected by the natural disasters or man-made disaster or by unauthorized access or by some other destructive action of the human being. So to ensure all these things that your system should not be affected by such events or such activities, you have to perform the audit. To improve the cost performance of an information system by optimum utilization of the resources, which leads to increase in the efficiency. This is again important objective of audit. Audit is a kind of checking, and when you check the system with respect to improve the performance of the system, then most of the component of the system are being utilized in a productive way, and which ultimately leads to increase the efficiency of the system. Right? Any questions so far? Now, benefits of an audit. Let's discuss certain benefits of audit. Audit improves the system and process control, because the audit is done it is a process which ensures the standard of the organization, which are with respect to the process. Apart from this, conducting audit means you are about to detect and prevent some error, and up to a large extent you can control fraud also, because regular audit will ensure all these parameters. Again, it helps to reduce the risk. Audit helps to reduce the risk, and as risks get reduced, it means system security get enhanced. Right? Audit also has a provision to plan for contingency, and even some sort of disasters can also be recovered by means of audit only. Audit ensures management of information and developing a error-free system also. Audit also ensures that the organization should be prepared for the independent audit. Again, during audit, systems efficiency and effectiveness is evaluated, which is related to the use of resources. All the resources which are the part of organization, they are evaluated under the audit process. So ultimately the fact is that after conducting audit, it helps to improve the business efficiency, and business efficiency leads to increase the performance of the system, and increased performance of the system is actually responsible for generating the monetary benefits of the system. So overall system performance gets increased by performing a single important activity, that is called audit. Now let's discuss a little bit about computer system and security issues. Again, when we talk about the IT or we talk about the system analysis and designing, as most of the activities of the system analysis and designing is associated with that of the IT component, so security is an important issue for modern IT systems. Even though the technology provides immense possibilities to safeguard the organization's computing infrastructure, there has been security lapses also. When we implement the system, there has been some sort of security lapses and security breaches also. कभी कभी सिक्योरिटी में कुछ कमियां रह जाती हैं, कुछ चीजें क्लियर नहीं होती है, ब्रीचेस हो जाती हैं, धोखाधड़ी हो जाती है, which have cost to the organization heavily. So security is the most important issue for a modern IT systems, and these security issues ensures that no security lapses and security breaches can be can be, control, or in other words we can say security lapses and security breaches within the organization can be controlled by applying security issues, right? In the further part of this class, we are about to cover following topics like MIS, that is Management Information System, Computer System and MIS. What is 7M principle of Management Information System? Then we will discuss some examples of the management system. Going forward, we will also cover types of information system, types of computers supported in MIS, emerging technologies that are used in the MIS, decision management with information system, decision support system, that is DSS, what are the different components of the MIS, and expert system. All these things comes under the category of MIS. So let's explore about Management Information System. As the name suggests, that Management Information System is a combination of three important components, that is management, information and last system. Now let's explore a little bit about system. What exactly is system? So a system is defined as a set of related components, and all these related components perform some sort of activities, they undergo processing, and ultimately this system is being operated by the human being. So as a whole, all related components of the system perform different activities by a particular process with the help of human support, and all these components are working together to achieve some common goal or common objective. So in simple terms we can say that a system is the collection of different components which work together according to a specific plan to fulfill a objective of the organization, or to fulfill some common objective of the organization, right? Our human body is a very good example of a natural system. Every organization is having different department. Like we are considering there is an ABC organization. There are sales department, marketing department, finance department, HR department, production departments, right? So it means all these departments are basically the component of the same organization. In our example, it is ABC organization. So all these departments collectively give rise to a system basically. Now my question to you is that why we require system? जरूरत क्या है system बनाने की? Can anybody out of you can give me the answer of this question? Why a system is required? Although we know it very well that components work together in a cordial way, in a specific plan, and they ultimately achieve a particular goal. But my question is this, that why a system is built? Right? So ultimately, system provides the solution of many problems. If you have developed a system for a particular thing, it means many problems can be resolved. This is the ultimate goal of developing the system. Right? So, our natural body, human body is an example of natural system. This entire system of earth, moon, sun, again this is an example of a natural system. An organization is an example of a human made system, right? When people work together They develop their own database, their own information system. Again, human-based information system is an example of a human-made system. Next comes information. The next term that we are about to explore is information. How does this information comes out? It means, suppose I am using a word Ramesh. Ramesh is not an example of an information, because by merely knowing the name of a person you cannot process many other things. Ramesh sort of data is not an information, rather it's a data. Because this name of a person, that is Ramesh, is an incomplete form of data, and by knowing the name of a person you cannot process all other things related to that person. So again, Ramesh is an incomplete sort of data, as well as you cannot process it further. So it's an unprocessed form of data also. So collectively we call it Ramesh as an example of a data. Now the question is, well then what is the information? Suppose I am using the word that Ramesh bearing roll number 123 is enrolled in Delhi University. So by knowing the roll number of a particular person, you can extract most of the details of that particular person, like name, address, phone number, and other details regarding their marks. You can process all these things. In this example, Ramesh bearing roll number 123, student of Delhi University of BA program. This is an example of an information. Right? Because now you are able to process many more things, and these things has some meaning behind it, and it can be used by the end users also. I think you got the difference between the data and information. Now I am briefing you again that data reflects basically two features. The first one is data is incomplete in nature, and data is unprocessed. You cannot process many other information just by having a raw facts and figure in your hand. That is the data. Next is information. Information is complete form of data, and we can process it further. That is, and information is having another characteristic feature, that is processed form of data is this. Right? Now I think you got the proper differentiation between data and information. And information is finally used by the end user, who has to use this particular information for their own sake or for processing some other task. Now let's discuss management. Management focus on the ultimate use of such information system for managerial decision making technology. It means the ultimate goal of any management in the system is to take on decision and to control the environment. So we can say that MIS, that is Management Information System, is a sort of repository of the system, is sort of data of that particular organization which is used by the management at all level. Either the management corresponds to top management, middle management and lower management. In top management, the company's CEO, director, chief finance officer, chief information officer, and many more things comes under this. In middle management, all managers, either it's a unit manager, regional manager, area manager, assistant manager, deputy manager, manager, assistant manager, all comes under this category. That is middle management. And all other people who are assisting the middle management, they comes under the lower management. Right? So management information system is a kind of tool in the hands of the system analyst. And by making use of this tool, a system analyst can take on useful decisions, can control environment within the organization, and can serve MIS as a tool, decision-making tool in the hands of management. Now, it is the responsibility of the MIS manager to ensure the accuracy of that particular system, or rather I must use the word information system, because the people of management, whosoever is at which level, either they are the part of top management, middle or lower management, they will take MIS as a source of data. Previously, MIS was maintained in paper form or hard form. But now MIS is associated with technology. It means most of the task of MIS is being done with the help of technology only. We make use of computer, mobile, and when we talk about computer, it means hard disk, pen drive, CD, DVD, CPU, keyboard, mouse, monitor, speaker. Many hardware devices are being used, right? So, the power of MIS has been enhanced when MIS concept is associated or it is merged with the technology part, because it acts as an information system which helps the management people at different level to take on the decision. And if the decision is okay, it means action will also be automatically okay. Again, if MIS is not okay, it means whatever decision it has been taken up, it will not be okay. So, MIS plays a very, very important role in the system development life cycle also, because all the data of the entire SDLC is also kept under the MIS of that particular organization, because it helps to take on decision in the near future also, in some near future projects also rather, right? Now let's explore that how it is helpful for the organization. MIS is helpful for the organization to produce information that the organization needs to improve the decision making, problem solving, control operations, and creating new products or services. To achieve all these set goals, MIS is used as a tool in the organization. Now, here comes the question that what is the source of information in this MIS? Let's explore this thing. All day-to-day business operations are input in MIS. MIS also supports in managerial decision making. At certain point of time, management or managers has to take on decisions, and this decisions making process is supported by MIS. MIS also supports strategic decision making and competitive advantage also. So, by optimizing operational cost, MIS plays a very important role in the organization, because all the data is being stored inside the MIS, so we can decide that what optimum solution will actually help the organization in reducing the cost of a particular operation. Apart from this, MIS also provides timely information, and whatever information it has been imparted by the MIS, it is accurate also. So MIS, it basically generates the information system of an organization, and that information system helps to improve the performance of the system and helps in improving the productivity of that organization. It helps to maintain better coordination between different components of the organization, because MIS has the data with respect to all the department of that organization. So it will act as a bridge between the management and all of the department of that organization, right? So MIS basically extract the processes which is going on inside the organization or which is used by many of the managers and all other people to extract some sort of data. And this MIS also helps to summarize the data from transaction processing system also. Because now MIS is basically what? It is a repository of data also. It helps you to provide weekly reports, monthly reports, quarterly reports, even annual reports also. So MIS is what basically it's a study of the information system in business and management context. Right? It means information system, how it is working with respect to the business and management needs. Because management also requires MIS to take on decisions, so that on the basis of the decision corresponding action can be taken up. Right? So we can say that MIS is generated with respect to the business context. Apart from this, MIS also summarizes and report on the company's basic operations. If you are able to have the MIS of any company, you can easily find out what exactly the company deals with, what basic operations are exactly carried out inside the organization at the operational level. Means MIS provides you a sort of document which gives a clear picture of what exactly internally the work is going on inside the organization. The basic transaction data from TPS, that is transaction processing system, are compressed and are usually presented in long-term reports that are produced on a regular schedule of time. So whatever data you have input inside the MIS, this data has been taken up, compressed and converted into the form of reports, and these reports are evaluated against various parameters, again by the top management to take on some useful decisions. MIS also serves the management level of the organization, providing managers with reports in some cases and with online access to the organization, current performance and historical records. I think you are able to understand what exactly the MIS is doing. Right? Reports are generated for the sake of managers, and current and historical records can also be generated with the help of MIS only. So MIS basically serves the function of planning, controlling and decision making, because management plays an important role in the entire scenario, and the basic functions of MIS is to act as an input in the planning, controlling and decision making at management level. With this, we are about to finish this session. Any questions so far at your end? Thank you.